Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Abad. We are at the last part of our session, inshallah, and we will complete this before Zohar. As I mentioned, the natural question that arises when we look at the issue of rizq, and especially when we accept and understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has preordained our rizq, and that the quantum of it, the amount of it, has nothing to do with anything that we do or don't do, and the quantum of it is fixed. Therefore then the question comes, why should I work? Why must I make any effort? And there are reasons why we need to do that. The first of the reasons is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted us, gave us the permission to work, and not to take advantage of the permission that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us is a form of kufran and ni'mat. It is a form of denying the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just to give you an example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permitted us to shorten our salah during travel. Right? And all the Aimma are collectively of the opinion that it is therefore necessary for us to shorten our salah. Now there is only difference of opinion. In some cases Imam Shafi said that you can shorten the salah, or if you wish and if you have the time and so on, and if you wish to pray the full salah, this is okay. But Imam Abu Hanifa said that to shorten the salah is fard. You have to shorten the salah because this is the rukhsa, this is the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So not to shorten the salah becomes to deny the bounty of Allah. For example, therefore, if a Shafi'i Imam, if the two Imams if the two people who are traveling, if one is a Shafi'i and if he leads Salatul Isha, right? Sometimes it happens when the person comes, please lead the salah, and if you are a Shafi'i Imam and you lead the salah of Isha and you pray the full 4 rakat, the Ahnaf, the Hanafi people have given the fatwa to say that the salah of the Hanafi behind this Imam is invalid, because the Imam has prayed the full 4 rakat instead of shortening the salah. Right? I'm just mentioning this, I'm not going into the details of why and how and so on and so forth. Alhamdulillah, both of these opinions are good opinions, and therefore I don't think anyone here needs encouragement to shorten salahs. Alhamdulillah, people actually so therefore we don't have to worry about that. But I'm just saying that it is very, people literally they shift their madhab. They're very strong on some things, but they shift their madhab because it's more convenient in some ways. And so a lot of Shafis become Hanafi when it comes to the duration of time for which the salah can be shortened. Because Imam Shafi said you can shorten salah only for 3 days, and Imam Abu Hanifa gave the rukhsat till 14 days. So a lot of Shafi become Hanaf for the sake of the shortening of salah. I hope our hearts are similarly close to each other in other matters as well. But anyway, the point is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has permitted us to work, therefore, when we work and we work with this consciousness that Alhamdulillah, I'm doing what Allah has permitted, and we are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this permission, then this work is a source of barakah and rahmah for us. And the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha nudiya lis-salati min yawmil jumu'ati fas'au ila dhikrillahi wa zarul bay' dhalikum khairul lakum in kuntum ta'lamun fa idha khudiyatis salatu fantashiru fil ardi wabtaghu min fadlillah وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying 2 things to understand in this, because Allah told us what to do and He told us how to do it. Allah said, oh, you believe, when the call is proclaimed, when the adhan is given for the salah on the day of Jummah, come to the dhikr of Allah, come to the khutbah and salah of Jummah, and leave your business and everything else. Right? So, first of all, the supremacy of salah over your business and everything else. Allah is saying, leave everything. Drop it. No meetings, no this and no that. Come for the salah of Jummah. And not come at the tail end of it where you catch the second rakat of the salah. You come and you come in time so that you can listen to the khutbah and you can then do the salah properly, and then you can go about your business. Right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and then when the salah is finished, you may disperse through the land and seek the bounty of Allah. Right? فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. And then what should you do? While you are searching for the bounty of Allah, what should you do? وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. Don't seek the bounty of Allah in ways which are haram. Don't seek the bounty of Allah in ways where you forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you pray Jummah, but then Salatul Asr gets delayed or becomes Qada, or you don't pray at all because you are now busy with the business. No. Wadhkurullaha kathira. Continuously make zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while you are searching for your bounty. See the protection in this. See the protection in this. How is it possible for someone who is continuously remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to actually do something wrong? He cannot do it. It's logically impossible. So any point or any chance that comes where he might have fallen into a trap, where he might have done something wrong, immediately he stops himself, he does not commit that wrong. If in the deal, if there is some cheating or there is some, whatever it is, I don't have to go into the details, I'm sure you understand. So anything wrong, the person holds back and the person does not fall into the trap of doing something wrong, because he is continuously engaged in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the permission to work and He showed us how to work. And therefore, why should we work? Because alhamdulillah, if we take advantage of the permission that Allah has given us and we work in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us to work, then this work itself becomes ibadah. The work itself becomes a source of adding hasanat into our lives. So now you have two people. The amount of rizq is preordained. So for both of them it's preordained. But one of them is just sitting somewhere and he's doing nothing. He will still get in various ways, and we'll look at all of that. But the other one is actively searching for this rizq, and is continuously remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is continuously making zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is working in ways where, and we'll come to the next slide, where his work itself becomes a source of da'wah of Islam. Now who is benefiting more? And that's the reason why we should continue to work, even though the quantum of rizq is fixed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One reason. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentioned, وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا. In Surah Naba, Allah said, we made the day for you to seek livelihood. وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا. The night is a covering, the night is for rest. Unfortunately, we have turned it upside down on its head. The whole night. We are either engaged in jobs where we are compelled to stay awake all night, or those of us who are not engaged in those jobs, we compel ourselves to stay awake all night because you are on something, Facebook or Tailbook or whatever book. And you are chatting and this and that. Please notice on the group, there's a very nice article about all this chatting and whatnot, which is written by Brother Naushad Noorani, and I have circulated it on the group. Please read that. It's very important. And a lot of people also claim, they say, but I am only chatting about Islamic things. So he's chatting to this sister from somewhere, or someone who's pretending to be a sister. Please understand this. On the internet, anyone can pretend to be anything. People get very, subhanAllah, this poor girl, that poor girl is something else which you don't understand. Right? So you're chatting to this sister, and alhamdulillah, maybe she is sincere, maybe you are sincere. And in that chatting, you are also inserting your emoticons, and you are inserting all sorts of terminology which it is wrong. But just because, but we're talking about deen. Well, what happened to this deen with regard to this? It is deen not to freely mix and socialize with people of the opposite gender. So whether you're doing it on the internet or you're doing it personally face to face or on a phone or something, it is wrong. If you're doing it, it is wrong. Make tawbah. Inshallah, don't do it again. But don't fall into these traps. If someone asks a question, point them to someone who can give them an answer. If you have an answer, just give the answer. Say, Salaam alaikum. This is the answer. Wa alaikum salam. Khalas. No need to go into all sorts of, things which are not permitted. And that happens if you forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're doing wazkurullah, if you're continuously doing zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all this doesn't happen. So Allah made the night for sleep, so sleep. It is disliked after Salatul Isha even to stay awake and talk and so on and so on. And subhanAllah, in our society here in India, it is the norm for religious lectures to be scheduled after Isha. I don't know what happens to people and their understanding of hadith and understanding of what is permitted and not permitted. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam disliked this. He disliked talking or doing anything after it. Then the excuse they give, नहीं ये दिन की बात है. तो दिन की बात कर सकते बोल के कहा है? पूरा दिन है आपको करने के वास्ते. So now you have a religious lecture after Salatul Isha. You have it in a big open ground. You have loudspeakers everywhere, and then we have our ulama, mashallah, have enormous stamina to talk, and people have enormous stamina to listen. Unless a lecture is at least 3 hours, nobody is satisfied. So 3 ghante from 9 o'clock till 12 o'clock in the night or 1 o'clock in the night, this person is speaking, or several people are speaking, and this is on loudspeakers, and it's in the open, and you have ruined everyone's sleep. All the non-Muslims, all the other Muslims who don't come to your jalsa, all of their sleep is ruined because you insist on doing something which was, to begin with, it is against the sunnah. And what is the impression that you are building about Islam and about Muslims in the hearts and minds of those people? What kind of dawat of Islam is this? What do you think the non-Muslim is going to do? Is he going to listen to your lecture, or is he going to be cursing you all the time to say this fellow doesn't let me sleep and he's blasting? Now, unfortunately, or whatever you want to call it, but we live in a country where we do not protest against these things. So we take it, we say, chalo hota hai, hum bhi karte, hamara bhi karte, wo bhi karte. That doesn't make it right. That does not make it right. And it gives grounds for people to build an opinion mass against us. Why do you want to do this? For what? Have your ijlases, have your gatherings and so on at normal times, which are the times that are prescribed in the Quran and Sunnah. Don't have them in the middle of the night. This is not from the Sunnah. Let people pray Salatul Isha, make dua, have their food or whatever it is, go to sleep, go home. That's the time for you to be with your family. Why are you sitting in some place listening to whatever? Very important for Allah made the day for work and Allah made the night for sleep. So use it for that. Don't turn it upside down. The hadith that many people quote, where Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu ibn al-Khattab narrated from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the bird leaves its nest hungry in the morning and comes back with its belly full. So make tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will feed you. The thing I remind myself and you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for the bird, but not in its nest. The bird has to leave the nest. Allah can provide the bird in the nest also, and we'll look at the difference between Qudratullah and Sunnatullah inshallah. But what is the Sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It is that the bird must go out in search of its food, and then it will be given. Right? Same thing applies to us. And that's why I'm saying differentiate between Sunnatullah and Qudratullah. Sunnatullah is the system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created for all things of this world. And Qudratullah is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power to override His own system. To respect Sunnatullah is Islam. You want to have a baby, you have to first get married. So for example, if a person says, no, I'm making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah give me a son, oh Allah give me a son, oh Allah give me a son, every day making dua. You say, brother, are you married? No, I'm not married, I'm making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh mashallah, very nice. Are you denying the Qudrat of Allah? Did not Allah make Adam alayhi salam? So Qudrat of Allah is something that we accept and we do not deny. It is the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us all of these examples. Allah created Adam alayhi salam from nothing. Adam alayhi salam was created, he was the prototype. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the model. Adam alayhi salam was never a baby, he was never a child, he was never a teenager, he was never growing up, he was never 10 years old. Adam alayhi salam he was born as a full-grown man. And this is where the Christians got confused. Where they say God created man in his own image. So they said, well, man is in the image of God. They got confused. God created man in the image of man. In his own image, meaning what? The image of man. Not in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's image, na'uz billah. So Adam alayhi salam was a full-grown man when he was, within quotes, born. When life was breathed into him, he woke up and he stood up as a full-grown man. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has proved by this that Allah is not dependent that someone has to be born as a baby to grow up. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then produced Hawa alayhi salam, the wife of Adam alayhi salam, the woman from the man. So who is the mother of Hawa alayhi salam? Her husband, the father. The man is the mother. No? What do you call mother? Mother is. So who did you come out of? From Adam alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala proved by this that a woman is not required in order to give birth. If Allah wants, He can take the child out of the man itself. And Hawa alayhi salam also was not born as a baby. She was not born as a baby. Adam alayhi salam didn't look after her for her to grow up. He was also born full grown. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala produced Isa alayhi salam from his mother Maryam alayhi salam, who no man had ever touched. To prove that the conjugation of the man and the woman is not required for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He made this rule and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this very clearly. هو الذي أحسن خلق كل شيء. صدق آياته. هو الذي أحسن كل شيء وبدأ خلق الإنسان من طين ثم جعل نسله من سلالة من ماء مهين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He is the one who created everything in a beautiful form and who started the creation of man from soil, from tin. وَجَعَلَ نَسْلَهُ, and then He started his propagation, his nasl, مِمَّاءٍ مَهِينٍ, from the spermatic and the conjugational fluids. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order to show us that He is not bound by His own rules, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show His khudrat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show His power, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took out a pregnant she-camel from the side of a mountain. But if you want a pregnant she-camel, you have to go to the market to buy it. You go and stand in front of a mountain till you die. It's not going to come out from there. The khudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something that He can do whatever He wants. Ala kulli shay'in qadir. The sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in this world. This world is a world of cause and effect. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created various means by which various effects can be made to happen. To respect those means is a sign of fiqh of deen, of understanding of deen. Nobody who understands Islam will say, I will just sit here and Allah will give me. No. वो अल्लाह से प्यार की मोहब्बत की बात एक है, एक दिन आप कर लो अल्लाह देते भी, वो अलग चीज़ है. But as a part of your life, no, I will not work. अल्लाह को खिलाना है तो खिलाने दो. नाउज़ बिल्लाह, लोग ऐसे से बातें करते हैं. खिलाते. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the khudrat to feed you through a Ryle's tube down your nose, lying in an ICU in hospital until the last drop of your rizq is over. Allah can do this. So don't challenge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah to give us our rizq with khair and with izzah and with His rahmah and with His ikram. Yes? So the khudrat of Allah we accept without question. The sunnah of Allah we follow because this is what Islam teaches us. Another reason to work is because it is a way of increasing our iman. What is one definition of iman? Is to see something happening from one source or one means. but to know that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is doing it. Not to mistake the means for the source. Right? And to actually believe otherwise is shirk. One is to say things like this. It is definitely not even preferable to say things like this. People sometimes, in conversation, अभी ये मेरा बिजनेस खत्म होगा तो कैसा होगा साहब, हमारे बच्चे कैसा खाएंगे साहब, दुकान बंद होगी तो हमारा कैसा गुजारा होगा, ये बातें करते. ये बात करना खुद गलत है. Very wrong to say things like, if my shop closes, what will happen to my family? If my business shuts down, how will we survive? These statements are statements of kufr. But maybe whoever is saying it, he says it without thinking. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive him, and we try to show him that don't even say things like this. But if someone actually believes that in his heart, then he is committing shirk, straightforward. Because he is making that shop or whatever it is the sharik of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in providing of sustenance. So be very clear. And very simple, I mean, the thing I have said in this also, we don't say the light bulb provides illumination. We don't say the illumination is because of the light bulb. So why do we say that, our business feeds us? We recognize the source. We say, La ilaha illallah. So let us be very clear about that. And working shows us this. But when we are working, you will actually see the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your work. And you know that this which is happening to me has not come because of my effort. It has come because of the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We work also because Iman must be proved. Iman must be proved. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the famous ayat of Surah Tawbah, where He said, قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَبْنَاؤُكُمْ وَإِخْوَانُكُمْ وَأَزْوَاجُكُمْ وَعَشِيرَتُكُمْ وَأَمْوَالٌ اقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَهَا أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْفَاسِقِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that it is not enough to claim to love Allah and to love His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You have to prove this. Allah said, say to them, if your fathers and your sons and your brothers and your wives and your kindred, your family, your wealth that you have gained, the commerce in which you fear a decline, and the houses and dwellings in which you delight, are dearer to you than Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then this is the proof. And striving hard in the path of Allah, sacrificing that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If these are dearer to you than that, and if you are not willing to prove your love for Allah and His Messenger by spending in the path of Allah, by sacrificing in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then wait until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings about His judgment of punishment, His decision of punishment. And in addition to that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allah does not guide the rebellious people. La yahdil qawm al-fasiqin. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from being rebellious to Him, knowingly or unknowingly. Another reason to work is because work is da'watul Islam. Work is da'watul Islam. A Muslim must never work for the reason to fill his belly. Animals work to fill their belly, not human beings, and definitely not Muslims. We work for other reasons. We work to establish the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the earth. So if I am a king, I will try to do that in my kingdom. If I am a family householder, I will try to do that in my family. If I am a businessman, then I will try to do that in my business. Whichever situation Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put us in, I will try to implement the sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that situation. Yes? And that's the reason why the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we also mentioned in this, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, kullukum ra'in وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ أَرْرَعِيَتِهِ, that all of you are shepherds and all of you will be questioned about those who are under your care. So we work in order to present the standard of Islam to the world. We work so that when people look at us, when people look at a great business, they will say this is a great business because this business is run by a Muslim. I mentioned to you that there was a time in South Africa where legally in the courts, A Muslim was not required to swear on the Quran or to swear on the Bible or to swear and say, I will speak the truth and nothing but the truth. A Muslim was not required to do that because they said, and the government was a Christian government. This during apartheid times, it was a Christian government. The government and the state said, Muslims do not lie. Therefore, they don't have to swear that they will not lie. If he is a Muslim, if she is a Muslim, he will always speak the truth. There is no need for him to say, I will speak the truth. Sounds like a fairy tale, no? And we have done it to ourselves, believe me. No one else did it. The rest of the world was willing to respect us when we were worthy of respect. They showed us this in so many terms. They showed us this. Today we say, why do you blame Islam? For the same reason that they gave credit to Islam. They did not say, the court did not say that Omar Ali Haider need not give this, need not swear, because he individually is a truthful person. They said no, a Muslim is a truthful person. So today if somebody says that, today that, why do you blame Islam if something is an individual? No. They gave credit to Islam, so now they also blame Islam. And who was responsible for the fact that Islam got credit for good? The Muslims of the time. And who is responsible collectively? I'm not blaming anyone individually. I'm saying collectively who is responsible for the fact that Islam is getting a bad name? We. So don't complain. You see this all the time. Why do they blame Islam? What do they want? What do you want them to do? Why should they not blame Islam? Because you and I are supposed to be manifestations of this Islam. We are supposed to be the examples of Islam for the rest of the world. So if I am a lousy example, what do you want the world to say? The solution is for us to go back to our original. My Ustad Maulana Salman Nadwi Damat Barakatum said a beautiful thing about from his father. He said, my father used to say, Shaykh Allama Sulaiman Nadwi Rahmatullah Alayh, he used to say that for Muslims development means going backwards. Yeah? For Muslims, development means going backwards. So they asked him, what do you mean? He said, because for Muslims, the best time and the best situation is the Qarn Ula, the time of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the best development for a Muslim is to go back 14 centuries and 15 centuries and 25 centuries and 10,000 centuries, wherever the Muslim might be. Go back to the original foundation of Islam, which was the Islam of Muhammadur Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and his Mubarak people with him, the Sahaba Ridwanullahi Alayhim Ajmain. For development for the Muslim is actually to go backwards. Subhanallah, Ajib. May Allah bless these ulama and always keep them as a source of guidance for us. What a beautiful perspective of what is development. Today we think development is to go further, go forward. But actually in Islam, going forward is to go backwards. What did the Sahaba say to people who asked them about Islam? They said, Kunu mithlana. They said, become like us. They did not say, leave us and look at Islam. Did the Sahaba say that? Don't worry about me, look at Islam. They said, no, become like me. Become like us. Kunu mithlana. Become like us. Can we say this today? We need to get to a level where we can actually say this with all humility. I'm not saying this in any, may Allah protect us from arrogance. With all humility, we should reach a position. If somebody says, tell me how should I run a beautiful business, I should be able to simply point a finger and say, go and look at his business. How should I be as a lawyer, as an advocate? I just point a finger and say, go look at him as an advocate. If I say, how should I behave? I'm a medical doctor. How should I behave in a hospital? How should I run a great hospital? I just point a finger and say, go and look at his hospital. If I say I'm running a school, how must I run the school? Go and look at that school. If I say I am a king of a country, tell me how must I am president of a country? How do I run my country? Say, go look at that particular country. And all of these examples must be Muslims. SubhanAllah, may Allah show us this. It is the Qudrat of Allah. But remember, we have to simply sitting here and saying, may Allah show us this is not going to happen. We have to do it, and it starts with me. It starts with me, it starts with my life. Everything begins from one person, and that one person is yourself. We have to become living, walking, talking models of Islam. We have to become what we have coined the term, the standard bearers of Islam. It's not a term of an institution. So it happens to be the term of an institution, but we don't refer to that. We're saying, who's a standard bearer of Islam? The person who manifests in his or her life the standard which Islam brought to the world. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless His Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and to bless his wives and his family and all his ashab and all those who follow them in excellence until the day of judgment. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin, wa alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.